Welcome to TransformHer, the show where we ignite audacity and break barriers, providing African women with tangible resources and practical insights on their journey to the C-suite or towards becoming A-list entrepreneurs, so that we can usher in a new era of inclusive leadership that is bound to change the African narrative and indeed our story to the world. My name is Ifoma Williams. I'm your transformative guide. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back. Today I am super excited. I've been chasing this interview, and I'm not going to introduce her as Mrs. The episode is aptly titled Building a Legacy, the Entrepreneurial Odyssey of Adenike Ogunlesi. I know once I call her name, all of you are just itching to hear everything. This is a story of innovation, of excellence, but most importantly, one of resilience. Ruff and Tumble. Adenike, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Foma, for having me. Thank you so much.
Excited.
Thank
Ruff
you.
and Tumble.
Yeah.
Just in as many words, tell me the Ruff and Tumble story.
My goodness. I think you captured the essence of the Ruff and Tumble story when you said it was a story about excellence, a story about resilience, and a story about a kind of local word that I want to use, hard heart. I'm telling you. I fell upon Ruff and Tumble quite accidentally.
Oh, wow.
It was not a planned part of my life. The planned part of my life was making clothing for women.
Oh.
So I have that whole life that nobody except the people who knew me at the time know about. And my customers were very, very interesting, powerful, entrepreneurial Nigerian women who, by virtue of the things that they achieved, actually were role models to me inadvertently. So you had Mrs. Adenike, you had Mrs. Babangida, you had Mrs. George, you had women who owned factories that manufactured cosmetics. You know, yes, you had all these kinds of women. And I was very young. You know, I was about 18, 19, 20.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because I opted out of university to study law and decided, you know, I wanted to do this instead. And because it was an unknown, because it was an area where there was really very little precedence of what success or mega success could look like, my father was very worried about it. You know, but my mother, God rest her soul, was very supportive. And she just said, you know what, you work with me, because she was already making clothes. Yes, so I grew up with Adire. So when people are talking about Adire now, I'm laughing because I used to have pink hands, blue hands, red hands, black hands from dyeing Adire with my mom, you know, growing up as a child. That's why I have such a deep sense of color, because I played with color as a child. Wow. And that's what came to play out with Ruff and Tumble. I wanted it to be white, and I wanted the power of color to pop at you as soon as you walked into the store. But that's fast forwarding now. Let's go back a bit.
Okay.
I got married and had, you know, children. Working with women, those particular women, was very demanding. And because of where I was coming from, dysfunction, a lot of dysfunction in my growing up years. I wanted a different life for myself and my family and my children. And I wanted to give my family that chance. So what I did was to stop working, much to the chagrin of a lot of the women. But I wanted to focus and concentrate on this thing I was doing that was new, that was marriage and motherhood and children, you know, and all that. But I very quickly got bored of baking cakes on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning. After I think about 2 or 3 years, I realized that this life is not for me. No, I need to be doing something way more. And I need to find a way to make it all work together. So I can still be wife, mother, but I needed to actualize my soul, the spirit of who I am, you know, and give it expression. And really, that is how Ruff and Tumble then came to being. And you know, Gbemi, I never say this story without Gbemi, because Gbemi was having a teddy bear festival. I had already started making these things, pajamas in particular, was really all I started with. And then my husband encouraged me to do other things, you know. And Gbemi said she was having this teddy bear festival. And I said, Gbemi, you have come with your effigy. What on God's name? What in God's name is that? She said the person with the oldest teddy bear was going to be the winner. I said, good luck with finding the oldest teddy bear. Anyway, what are you? So she told me she's going to have stalls. She needs somebody who's going to make children's clothes in Ankara. I said, you're looking at the person.
Wow.
Yeah, I just told her straight up, you're looking at the person. I didn't know what scale it was, but I offered up myself and my service. And there's many times when opportunities come to us and we second guess ourselves. And we don't jump at that opportunity and then figure out exactly how I'm going to do it all, you know. And that for me is a very important lesson in that whole story. And Gbemi said, okay, so what are we going to put in front of your canopy? What's the name of the business? I said, I have no idea. I'm just making children's clothes. So she said, what kind of clothes are you making? I said, well, clothes children can play around in, rough around in. And right there outside her kitchen door, Gbemi said to me, you know, Gbemi is a creative.
She is.
She said to me, I'm going to get them to draw a drum with children tumbling out of it. In that split second, I said to her, the name of the business is Ruff and Tumble. Just write Ruff and Tumble. That's how Ruff and Tumble was formed. No focus
I have
group,
goosebumps.
no big, I'm still having goosebumps almost 30
God.
years later. No focus group, no big consultancy firm, no will it work, will it not work. It was an idea in a split second that was formed, and I went on to give it life.
What you've done is actually answer my question before I asked it. You've told us the defining moments of Ruff and Tumble.
That was it, right there outside her kitchen door. I can never forget that day, because I was outside going back into my house. We were neighbors.
Wow.
I was outside going back into my house, and she was standing at the threshold of her kitchen door. And that's where we did it. That's where we said it. I don't even know if Gbemi remembered. I had to remind her years later that, do you know that this is what happened? And from then on, it was Ruff and Tumble. I didn't have the logo that we had now. You know, it took a while before all those things evolved. Yeah, and before I realized, you know, then, you know, I've got this thing. We went to this teddy bear festival with 110,000 nairas worth of clothes in, I don't know, the year before 2019. This is 1996 or something.
Wow.
And we sold 100,000 nairas worth of clothes. Put that in context of today's money. That's a lot of money. And we were sitting outside in a canopy, under a canopy, with a table full of clothes. And people coming to come and buy. And my children and Gbemi's children running around modeling the clothes.
This is phenomenal.
Well,
but you see, anyone who hears this story will think from then, 30-something years to now, it's
not quite 30-something years, because that was a teddy bear festival. It really became a business in 1998.
Okay.
Yeah.
1998. 20-something, almost 30.
It's almost 30.
Almost 30.
Yeah, it's almost 30.
So anyone who hears this story will imagine, wow, clothes. At the time, people were looking for where to buy children's clothes. But I know, Auntie, that it's a tale of resilience.
It is.
So I really want you to reveal the battle scars. Because in entrepreneurship in Nigeria, you definitely are a general. The battle scars.
You know, the beauty of battle scars is you get to understand that adversity is part of the human experience. And it is coming to a place where you accept that life can be, let's say, a little bit of a pyramid. So it's going up on one side, it gets to the top, it can come down on the other side. And in some cases, it will come down on the other side. And on one side, you're saying it is growth, you're doing well, everything is working, you're growing, you're learning, you're becoming, you know, the person you want to become. And it gets to this place and it sometimes goes down this way. And when it goes down this way, you think it's failure, or you look at it as failure, but it isn't. It is just, you learned how not to do what you wanted to do. And you had to come up with new ways on how to do that thing that you want to do. So I learned from the battle scars to give myself grace, but giving myself grace took 20 years. Because I was so hard on myself, And I drove myself to live by standards that I set for myself and benchmark them against international standards.
Wow.
So nobody sent me. I sent me. I literally sent me to do this. But because I was raised by a woman of excellence, my mother always said to me, whatever thy hand findeth, do with all thy might.
Wow.
So that has to translate into a way of life, not just one part of your life, but as a value and as a principle that guides everything that you do. So these battle scars, I've been through trust broken, disloyalty, stealing. I myself have been a terrible hirer of people. I've hired the wrong people. I've had to learn. The biggest lesson for me was learning to lead myself before I could lead others.
Wow.
And coming to a place where I had to learn emotional regulation to lead myself. Because when you're a hyper creative, you can't, and you're an entrepreneur, your emotions are embedded in your passion. And you have to learn to separate those things, to be able to, yes, be driven by the passion, but have mental capital that gives you clarity on what you want, where you want to go, and who you want to become. And those three things are not negotiable. And you can't let your emotions get in the way. And once you go through this journey of entrepreneurship that is hard, people are telling you now that you can do 3 jobs, or you can run 3 businesses. No, the richest people in the world became very good at one thing. Very good at one thing. So good they couldn't be ignored. They made money from that and then started investing in other things.
Please hold the thought, Auntie. Very difficult to even take a break, but we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back. What did I tell you about Adenike Ogunlesi? So I've written so much, but I've still lost quite a bit. So it's my granny who always used to say, when I say to people, Adenike, I can't multitask. And I say, my granny will say, one thing at a time,
yes.
and that is done well.
Well.
Back to the nuggets. Adenike said, adversity is part of the human experience. She also spoke the famous words of the inventor of electricity, Thomas Edison. He tried 999 times. It was the 1000th time that he finally invented electricity. And the question was asked, how come you failed 999 times? He said, I didn't fail. I only learned 999 ways not to do it. And the 1000th time was the way. You have built a brand that resonates with generations.
Yes, I'm so proud of that.
And
I'm so grateful.
I mean, it's a phenomenal thing. In this
Thank
day
you.
and age where brands do not last, do not survive, but there are many things I'm sort of picking up. One is intentionality.
Absolutely.
How have you, I mean, it almost seemed like an obvious question. But what were the things you were intentional about? You know?
I think that it's a great question. And I think a lot of people use the word intentionality without really fully understanding and appreciating how deep that word is. Because to live with intentionality, you must first design what you want to be intentional about. So it's not a life by default, but a life by design. So you sit down, and I say to people, just sit down with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. And just for a moment, don't think about what you don't have. Don't think about what anybody did or didn't do or said or didn't say. In that moment, can you sit down, and if money was never a problem, what is it that you want out of life? What do you want? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to become? then what are the habits that are going to ensure that you get where you're going? Because at the end of the day, your locus of control is really only you. Nothing else. So, what are you thinking? What are you speaking? And what are you doing? Because that is what is going to define your character, and your character will define your destiny. So it's important that people get to understand. And, this, I came about this because I had a conversation with my mother when I was about 26. And, life was rough. And I was feeling very sorry for myself. So I was in victim mode, where, So my mother just looked at me and, very practical woman. She said, well, I'll tell you this, or I'll ask you this question. For how long will you continue to blame your parents for your life or for the outcomes of your life? So when will you take responsibility and become accountable to yourself for your life? And it was a big wake-up call. That's what led me to the book called The Power of Positive Thinking, led me to Anthony Robbins, led me to 7 Habits of Highly Effective, and all those, and John Maxwell, and Wayne Dyer, and it's what led me down that path.
So there are many women who want to go into your line of work. There are people who just want to become entrepreneurs. What would you do differently, Adenike? What resources do you wish were available to you at the time you started? So what's that advice for them? You want to become an entrepreneur in today's age. With what I know, this is what I'll do.
It's a great question, but I'm going to answer it from where I am.
Okay.
Because that is the journey that it has taken me on. And really, it's really about understanding that entrepreneurship is bloody hard work. There's no other way to put it.
Frontal, I like it.
If you want to grow a business that stays the same 30 years down the line, it's okay. I don't have a problem with it. It's each must know what they want. I became ambitious. I met people who were amazing people who questioned what I was doing and made me see it from the eyes of it could be national. So why are you just in this small shop in this place in GRA? Why are you not in Abuja? Why are you not in Port Harcourt? Why are you not in... So they helped me dream big. And that's why the people you associate with will shape your life knowingly or unknowingly by the conversations you have with them. You're going to cry. I can't tell you the number of times I cried. And when I say this to people, yes, I'm human. Blood is flowing through my brains. I cried. Yes, I did. And it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. What you don't get a chance to do is cry for more than 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 or whatever. And it's to pick up from victim mode to, isn't this a fantastic opportunity? Am I not blessed that I'm able to do this? So you learn not to be defined by your circumstances, but to create the experiences that you want to see in your life, because you have agency over your life. You have agency over your brain, your eyes, your ears, your speech, and your hands that God has given you to toil, to till, to work. You have agency over those things. So the biggest asset you have is you. The biggest investment you must make in your life is you. Is in you.
Wow.
Because once you build that mental capital, there is nothing that life will throw at you. The lens with which you would look at it will be different. And your response will be different. So you will respond rather than be reactive.
Okay.
I know it's a long way to answer your question.
It's fantastic. And the nuggets are too many. But first of all, I now know why one of my favorite books is a book titled Confidence and Killing It.
My daughter's book.
Antinike's daughter. I can see. You know, let me change to pidgin. When they say follow come. Yes. So her mother, all of the juice, it was cooking in the womb. And she was born with that. Auntie, well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies, go and look for Confidence and Killing It by Tiwa. It was
Tiwalola Ogunlesi.
Tiwalola Ogunlesi. Was that the name on the book
That's
cover?
the name on the book. But she now became Tiwalola Adebayo. She's married now.
Okay. But
yeah.
Tiwalola Ogunlesi, Confidence and Killing It.
She has a podcast, you know.
What's the podcast? Is it Confidence?
Yeah,
Confidence and Killing It. Please go and look for that book, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. But Adenike says it is bloody hard work.
It is.
Dream big. Associations shape your life.
Yes.
It is a full-time job. Focus and commit your time and your energy. You have agency over your life. I love that. Last but not the least, live your life by design and not by default. Auntie, it's been phenomenal speaking with you.
Thank you.
This is the start of many collaborations.
Amen.
Please stay tuned for our next segment, which is our coaching segment. Welcome to today's coaching episode on TransformHer. We're discussing a very important topic today, dealing with insubordination. Now, how do you manage a provocative yet incompetent team member? The first thing you need to do is you need to understand the challenge. The person is provocative, yet they lack the skill set. They disrupt team harmony and they undermine leadership authority. One important question is, what is the root cause of this challenge? Is it an attitudinal thing or capability? Some people who are not capable of performing job functions mask behind a bad attitude, but some people just have the wrong attitude towards work. Then you must ask yourself the question, can coaching or mentoring help in the situation? The final thing to note is whether it is toxic behavior or it is an intrinsic personal trait. The next thing that you want to do is provide a strategic response. As a leader, you must set very clear expectations. You must also train your team aright. So people might have degrees, technical expertise, but you have set objectives and it might be necessary to train your team in that direction. You cannot ask people to do what you haven't explained that you want done. And then you must address behavior constructively. It is important to have certain conversations once you notice certain behavioral traits, so that it will be said that you have had the constructive conversation. In that conversation, the person can also give you feedback and you learn better ways of working together. And then you must always document every step of the way in your organization, managing your business, your general affairs. You must always document. If you are a leader who has a top-line manager, it might be necessary to escalate. And the only way you can do that is through proper documentation. As a leader, the ultimate decision lies with you. You have to know when to coach, when to tolerate, and when to let go, because ultimately, productivity and team morale comes first. If you have the wrong person on your team, you can absolutely destabilize the entire team. Imagine your team is a bottle of water and you open it up and you say, I'm just going to put a drop of poison, hoping it affects one part and not the other. No. The wrong people on your team poison the entire team and can mess your productivity. As a great leader, you must remove obstacles alongside managing people. And so, what's our final takeaway from this segment? You must balance firmness with empathy. You must align feedback with organizational goals, and you must encourage accountability and self-improvement. Remember, the strongest leaders set expectations. We do not engage in power struggles. You must know when to let go of a person on your team. Until next time, goodbye.